actions you can take is to try to usurp as much power for yourself as possible. And that might be done in terms of running things that should be done by Congress, like immigration policy, by using the military. And that might be done in ways of like undermining an upcoming election and saying that the election is going to be fraudulent, or it might be done in ways of like avoiding ever being held responsible for things that you do for criminal activity, right? The Supreme Court's granted him criminal immunity. He wasn't impeached in the Senate because they said, oh, well, we can't impeach him. He's already out of office.
Okay. Destiny and Dennis Prager faced off, okay? And Dennis Prager, I have my issues with him. I have my issues apparently with everybody, right? But I think he might be pretty good against Destiny. Let's see.
And he pardoned almost every single person that worked with him. Why would he pardon people like Paul Manafort? That's so crazy. I understand why people might want to argue for pardons for maybe like Flynn or maybe Stone, but Paul Manafort, why? It was so crazy. You can look up how many pardons he's done on the presidential website. It's insane compared to any other president.
What do you think, Dennis? I mean, certainly it sounds like a lot of unilateral action for sure. Do you defend all of the things? Do you dispute that Trump did any of the things Stephen mentioned? And if you don't dispute it, do you defend it?
Yeah, he started to build a wall. That was I don't know whether it's in his province or not. I don't know what the law is, but it is true. He could not get Congress to agree because the Democrats, since Ted Kennedy in the 1990s, have worked to open the border. You cannot have a civilization with an open border. That is a given. I assume Stephen would agree with that. That open border and keeping a country intact are mutually exclusive. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, that's why nobody asks for an open border.
Oh, yes, the Democrats do. I mean, if you deny that, that's good. You'll be on record, Dennis, saying...
We'll define it as policy, Dennis, so we can agree.
It's really critical, really critical.
It is really critical, and I want to see if he is going to deny it. Dennis Prager is right. You can't have a society with an open border. You simply just can't. I mean, because you know what? It's not even about migration, right? It's the illegal immigration, especially in the last 3 years. Not even going to talk about Trump time. But even Obama didn't have this much, right? Even Obama didn't have this much. So it's like, you know, what is going on? And this kind of influx of people coming in, how are people, you're not even giving them the American dream. The American citizen can't even get the American dream.
Do you believe, Stephen, that the Democrats have been for a controlled border and not for an open border in the last 10 years?
I think the Democrats tried to pass comprehensive legislation that was written by Lankford, a Republican in the Senate. I think Donald Trump and the Republicans are the ones that killed that, and that was on public record.
Please
so no, the Democrats have not been for open borders.
The Democrats are for a closed border. Okay,
it's not just closed or open.
Okay.
Can you define it though for us?
The border is a very complicated thing.
Can you define what you mean?
It is very complicated.
It's not complicated at all. It's not. People should not come here legally. Come here legally, get vetted, and do your thing. It's not complicated. It really isn't. I don't know why that's so complicated for people, because it's really not. It's not. This is hilarious to watch too. I mean, it really is.
It's not complicated.
I'm sorry, did you just throw that much information about immigration or the border?
Okay, good. All right. As I said, I prefer clarity to agreement.
Can you define open border, Dennis?
Yes, letting anybody who wants to come into this country come in. It's not complex.
And then to be clear, you think that that's the case right now?
That's the case right now. And that is the case what the Democrats want. That is correct.
They
have sanctuary cities all over my state.
Excuse me, sanctuary city has nothing to do with immigration policy.
Oh, sure as it does.
First of all, this is hilarious. He's like, that's the case right now. That's the case right now. What do you not have eyes? What is going on with Stephen? I think it's funny that they keep calling him Stephen too. Like, I don't understand what he can't see. That's the case right now. Yes. Insane. By the way, guys, if you like these videos, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you.
You are here illegally. We will not allow ICE or anyone else to take you away. You can come. That's what sanctuary city means.
That is not what a sanctuary city is. That's not what a sanctuary. Sure, I can tell you what it means. When it comes to enforcing immigration, that is exclusively in the purview of the United States government. Now, it tends to be the case that if you're a state official, you can collect information about whether or not a person is here legally or not. And if you want, you can turn that information over to federal authorities like Immigrations and Customs Enforcement or like the Department of Homeland Security. You don't have an obligation to do so. And some cities are supposed to say we won't. So a sanctuary city is just a city where if they arrest you, they're not going to do an immigration check. And if you fail, they're going to turn you over to the federal authorities. As somebody that is a conservative, who I imagine would have an appreciation for the concept of federal federalism, but the important protections of states' rights, because that's what we said when we threw abortion back to the states. You should champion a state deciding whether or not they would want to cooperate with a federal authority when it comes to turning somebody over for matters of deportation. But a sanctuary city does not legalize illegal immigration. It's just whether or not a city wants to cooperate with federal investigators when it comes to turning over an undocumented citizen.
No, they can't stay here. You came here illegally. We should not have this. Hold up. If you came here illegally, you can't have this. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't like a refugee program here. People just walking up in here illegally. What is he saying? Like, oh, but small government, right? Like, no. The sovereignty of the country, the safety.
Fine. Okay, we can continue.
Do you agree with that, Dennis? I mean, do you recognize that it's an issue of state?
The issue of people crossing a federal border is a federal issue. It is not just a state issue. Okay, it is so elementary. It's a national border. It's not just a state border.
I'd be really careful with that, because that wasn't Abbott's argument when he wanted to enforce the border in Texas. He said that the Texas National Guard should be that way. You just used the Biden administration.
Well, because there's no federal oversight. Because the Democrats are happy to have a great number of people come in. They're potential Democratic voters in their view.
I think it's fair.
So, Dennis,
is there a single lawmaker or is there a single prominent Democrat that said we want open borders?
No.
Okay.
And so what are the open border policies, Dennis? If the sanctuary city you concede
is not relevant, but the answer is no. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the question is like, it's gaslighting. It's very like elementary. It's who's going to say, yes, open the borders wide open. By the way, when Kamala and Biden were running, when that fiasco was happening in 2020, they were saying, if people come here, we're going to give them free healthcare. We're going to give them this, that, and the other. That's what they told them. And they came and they're getting it. Straight up. Like, this is not even a conspiracy anymore. Like, this is happening. Right? So, yeah, they didn't say open the borders. They didn't say, no, we don't have a policy that says the borders are open. That's how they answer that question.
If you concede that the sanctuary cities themselves are not the border, what are the open border policies that are at issue that you would want Stephen to either defend or denounce?
No, we have to have only legal immigration. I don't know. The rendering of a simple concept complex is a way to avoid the moral issue, the political issue, the real issue. The real issue is that under Democratic influence since Ted Kennedy, this is not new, but it has been hastened under Joe Biden. The border has been essentially open to millions of people to come into this country illegally. And you can't even say illegal alien. You can't say alien and you can't say illegal. You now say undocumented immigrant. The very fact that they have changed the language is proof that they are for it.
Okay. Let's briefly talk about Project 2025.
No. So what is it that Stephen can't agree with? We're not getting into that Project 2025, right? Do you hear that? You can't even say illegal immigrant. I say it. This is insane. Again, the American citizen comes last. Constantly, right? I'm not complaining. We're going to be all right. But please, if this guy, and every time I see him, I feel like filthy. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm a girl, so I'm going to say that. I don't think people should let us know about their personal lives a little too much, because I've heard him say some things where I'm just like, ugh. If you're going to be a political commentator, that's one thing. Like, I don't need to know what you're doing with your, it is a bit much, but whatever. But at the end of the day, like, what is he even, like, why can't he agree? Why can't people just, look, if we came to foreign policy, me and Dennis Prager would not agree, right? Because I don't want my American soldiers to die for Israel. I don't. I don't. But he would say that's not what's happening. He would argue some semantic or whatever. But it is what's happening, right? But when the reality is the reality, at least on this, if we're here at home, domestic issues, we will see eye to eye on. The American citizen is coming last.